Hello, my lovely viewers. Are you ready to find out what happens next in our story? Let's do it then. Chapter 5. The Card. Over the weekend, I had learned the sure route to the grocery store. When Yugi and Yami are out with their friends, I help Grandpa around the shop, which has earned me some money. Today, Grandpa has asked me if I could pick up a few things from the grocery store for him, which I gladly did. This was a lot simpler than having to sneakily take the food while the merchant wasn't looking. But I didn't have money back then, and even if I did, it wouldn't have been enough for the hungry children. I walked past several people on my way back, holding the paper bag close to my chest. A small smile adorned my face. Today was such a beautiful day. Then something shined in my face. I stopped and looked around, my eyes landing on a trash can. I walked toward it and looked in. My smile grew larger at the thing that was shining in my face. It was one of those dual monster cards. I grabbed it, then continued on my way back to the game shop. "I'm home, Gramps," I called as I walked into the shop. Yugi walked in with a smile and took the bag from me. "Here, I'll take it," he said as he placed it on the counter. "Thanks, Yugi." "Hey, guess what I found in the trash?" I exclaimed excitedly. Yugi cringed a bit. "Ian, we don't go through other people's trash," he said. I chuckled in embarrassment. "Sorry, old habit," I said, scratching the back of my neck. I then pulled the card from my back pocket and showed it to Yugi. "But I couldn't just leave it in the trash," I said, a snarled smile on my face. Yami then appeared next to Yugi and looked at the card. "Miracle Flipper?" he asked, looking at me. I nodded my head, looking at the card. "That's a good card. If Miracle Flipper is destroyed by a monster card, then you can destroy an opponent's magic/trap card and vice versa," Yugi said. "That is so cool, and it's my first card," I said, marveling over the cute character on the card. "He's so cute," Yami chuckled, then patted my head. Something in the back of my mind sparked for a second, but it quickly went away when his hand left my head. "So, do you want to start a spellcaster deck?" Yugi asked, noticing that Miracle Flipper was a spellcaster. I shrugged my shoulders. "I guess. I have always had a small fascination with magic," I said, looking at Yugi. "All right then, that will be easy to help set up, because Yami and I have a spellcaster's deck," Yugi said with a smile. Yami just nodded in agreement. I smiled and hugged Yugi. "Thank you so much, Yugi. You are the greatest friend I have ever had," I exclaimed happily. Yami cleared his throat and I pulled away from the blushing Yugi. "Do you want a hug to Yami?" I asked, raising a brow. His cheeks turned a light red as he looked away. "Maybe." I chuckled as he and Yugi switched places, just so I could hug Yami. He looked at me and spread his arms open. "Well," he said, tilting his head to the side. I smiled at him and quickly hugged him. I don't know why, but it feels right to be in his arms, like this is where I belong. Though it could just be because I haven't really hugged someone in over 5,000 years. Chapter 6. What is this feeling? I have been working really hard this past couple of weeks. I know my way around the city thanks to Yugi and his friends. I got a job at a cafe, and Yugi had me enrolled in the same school he goes to. Thanks to that job I got, I've been able to buy my own Duel Monsters cards. Yugi helped me make a spellcaster and fairy deck. I love the spellcasters. They're all so amazing. I hung on my apron, and walked out the back door of the cafe. My shift has finally ended, and now it was time for me to head back to the game shop. It was about 8 at night, so there weren't many people on the streets. I was looking down at my feet as I walked, thinking about all that has happened to me lately. I smiled slightly. My favorite part of my new life here are my friends. Just then, I walked into someone and fell to the ground. "I'm so sorry, sir," I said, looking up at the man. He glared down at me, then his eyes widened slightly. I stood up and looked at his face more closely. I knew that face, but from where? Ancient Egypt? Was he someone I knew from the past? "How are you alive?" he snarled. I took a step back. "I don't know," I said. He looked me up and down, then sighed. You obviously don't remember me, so there's no point," he said with a smile. "I'm Bakura," he said, holding his hand out. I took his hand hesitantly. "I'm Ian," I said shyly. He smirked and brought me closer to him, holding me by my waist. 5,000 years, and you are still beautiful," he said. I blushed slightly and looked away. I wiggled out of his grasp and looked at him. "I have to get going," I said, walking towards the game shop again. "We'll meet again, Ian. I just know it," he said, walking into the darkness of an alleyway. I sighed, clutching my shirt about my heart. My heart was pounding so fast. What is this feeling? Am I scared of him? Suddenly, an image of a bloody knife appeared in my mind. I stopped and blinked. Why did that come to me? Why did that come to mind? Does the knife symbolize something about him? I shook my head and walked back into the game shop. "I'm back," I called. Yummy floated up to me with a warm smile. "Good to see you came home safely," he said. I smiled back at him. Yummy was always so kind to me. "I did, though I ran into someone on the way here," I said. His eyes widened in shock. "Who?" he asked. I shook my head a bit. "It doesn't matter. It's not like I'm going to see him ever again," I said. I yawned, stretching my arms about my head. "I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Good night, Yummy," I said as I walked up the stairs. I brushed my teeth and changed into my pajamas. I lay there in my bed, staring at the ceiling above me. My mind wandered back to the boy with white hair. He had to be someone from my past. But what did the bloody knife mean? What did the bloody knife mean? I shook my head to get the thoughts out of my head. I rolled over onto my side and sighed. I just need to sleep, that's it. In the morning, I won't even remember I even ran into Bakura. Chapter 7. Fading Dreams. I stood on the balcony, the warm night breeze wiping my hair around slightly. I smiled slightly as the breeze died down. A pair of arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me into the owner of said arms. He rested his chin against my shoulder. I could see the warm and loving smile from the corner of my eye. I couldn't help but return that smile. I turned my head in an attempt to see the face of my lover, but my vision started to blur. "Why are you crying, my dear?" he asked, his voice soft and distant, almost in a whisper. "I'm sorry, my love, but I cannot remember," I mumbled sadly. He smiled sadly, wiping the tears that had started to fall. "Don't worry, you'll remember in due time," he said. His hand left my face and grabbed my hand. He lifted it up so my palm was facing me. He held his hand next to mine, showing 2 identical scars. Just as I was about to ask for his name, everything started to blur again, but it wasn't because of tears. I turned to look at him once again, but he had already faded away. I was once again dwelling in darkness. Tears formed in my eyes again as I spun around frantically. "Don't leave me! Please, come back!" I yelled into the internal darkness. I fell to my knees, crying into my hands. A small light shone upon me. I looked up at the light, hearing a distant voice calling out for me. I reached up towards the light as it temporarily blinded me. "Ian, wake up!" a soft voice spoke. I opened my eyes slowly, revealing Yami floating at my bedside. I gave him a tired smile as I sat up. "Good morning, Yami," I said, looking at the spirit. "Good morning, Ian," he said, giving me a friendly smile. I swung my legs off the side of the bed and stood up. "What brings you in my room this early in the morning?" I asked him, grabbing my brush, and started to brush my hair. "I heard you crying. I was a little concerned," he said, his facial expression showing sad emotion. I blinked, turning to look at him. "I was?" I asked. I lifted my hand to my cheeks. He wasn't lying. I had been crying. He floated closer to me, grasping my hand in his. "Is everything okay? Was it a nightmare?" he asked. I smiled slightly. I felt comfort in his concern for me. "I'm all right, Yami. I just had a dream of my past, though I didn't learn anything new," I said with a small shrug. My eyes widened for a moment. "Wait, I did!" I said. I gently removed my hand from his and looked at my palm. It had the scar. I smiled slightly. "He shares the same scar as me," I said with a small smile. Yami looked at me for a moment, then at my hand. It's good to know that your past is coming back to you," he said, a bit of sadness in his tone. I looked up, eyes widened again. "I'm sorry, Yami. I didn't mean to be so insensitive," I said. I tried to place my hand on his shoulder, but it just phased through him. I frowned, looking at my hand. I wish he were whole like me, then I could feel his touch. Why am I saying this? I shook my head slightly, returning my attention back to Yami. I really am sorry, I said. He smiled slightly at me. It's fine, Ian. I'm glad that your memory is returning to you. Who knows? Maybe we knew each other in our past lives, and you could tell me who I am, he said. I returned his smile and nodded slightly. I guess you are right. He smiled at me one last time before leaving my room. I just stared at my door for a moment. I felt terrible, but I don't know why. It wasn't because of what I had said earlier to him. I knew that it didn't hurt him too much. But did I have this feeling of going after him and hugging him? Chapter 8. A Date with a Rich Man. The streets of Domino City were busy on the sunny Saturday evening. Grandpa had told me that I needed to get out of the shop, so he gave me $20 and pushed me out the door. I would have asked Yugi or one of the others to accompany me, but they were busy working on their homework. Well, Yugi and Taya were. Joey and Tristan were sleeping on the couch. I lost focus on the people walking down the sidewalk around me and accidentally ran into someone. I stumbled back a bit, trying not to lose my balance. I looked up at the man. I'm so sorry, sir. I wasn't watching where I was going, I said. I looked up at his face. It wasn't a stranger. It was the man that gave me directions back to the shop. He looked down at me and smirked slightly. It's you again. I wondered when I would run into you again. I didn't think I would run into you literally, he said. I smiled shyly at him. Something about him set me off, but I don't know why. So, have you changed your mind about staying at my place instead? He said, leaning down a bit so we were face to face. I'm sorry, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't abandon my friends. Besides, I don't even know your name, I said. He stood up straight and held his hand out. Zero Kaiba, a pleasure to meet you, he said. I took his hand and shook his slightly. Ian, I said simply. Well, since we're here together, why don't I show you around? He said. I smiled a bit. I would like that, Zero, I said. Zero? That sounded familiar, but where have I heard that name before? He smiled slightly, wrapping his arm around mine and walking me down the street. We walked for a while before he led me into a large restaurant. This is one of my favorite places, he said. The waiter at the podium looked at Zero and smiled wide. Master Kaiba, a pleasure to see you, sir. Would you like your usual table? The man asked. Oh. Master Kaiba, a pleasure to see you, sir. Would you like your usual table? The man asked. Of course, Zero said. The man nodded his head and led us to a table in the back. Zero pulled my chair out, and I sat down, thanking him. He sat across from me, then the man handed us a menu. I'll be back when you're ready to order, he said, stepping away with a small bow. Order whatever you like. I'm paying, Zero said, opening the menu. I did the same as he did and looked at the different options. They all seemed like really fancy foods. Then I looked at the prices. My eyes widened slightly. It was all so expensive. I found the cheapest thing and decided on it. Our orders were taken, and we just sat in silence until our food came. Then we ate in silence. I picked up my food. It was good, but not something I was used to. I looked at the clock on the wall, and I stood up. "I'm so sorry, Zero, but I have to get going," I said, a bit in a panic. It was almost 6 o'clock. He looked at the clock and sighed. "All right then. I'll see you around then, Ian," he said. I rushed back to the shop. I told Gramps that I wouldn't be long. I walked through the shop doors and took a deep breath. "Is something wrong, Ian?" Yugi asked, looking at me as I ran in. I looked up at Yugi and smiled. "I'm fine, Yugi. I just lost track of the time and rushed to get back here," I said. Yami appeared next to Yugi, looking at me with concerned eyes. "Why were you so late anyway?" he asked. "I ran into someone who helped me earlier. Seto Kaiba. He took me to this big restaurant, but I didn't eat much. Are there any leftovers in the fridge?" I asked. "Yeah," Yugi said with a smile. "You were on a date with Kaiba?" Joey yelled as he ran into the room. I tilted my head to the side. "What's a date?" I asked. "What Kaiba did, taking you out to dinner. That's a date," Joey said. "Are you two together or something?" Tristan asked, coming up from behind Joey. My eyes widened and I shook my head. "Of course not. I only learned his name today," I exclaimed. The two flinched at my own burst. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Yami's sigh and what looked like relief. Joey and Tristan came up to me, picked me up, and took me into the living room. "We're going to tell you all the reasons why you should stay away from Kaiba. Got that? He's a bad man," Joey said, sitting me on the couch. I sat and listened to everything they had to say, and from what I was hearing, Kaiba wasn't a very nice person. That's all for today, folks, but don't you guys worry. I'll be posting the next chapter very soon for you. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notification bell. Until next time, my sweeties. Bye, everyone.